Hello, fellow Farming Sim fans. Welcome back to Grizzly Bear Sim's YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning back in to what is episode 4. I had a bit of an issue. I started recording episode 4 this morning, and I had a problem with the recording software that I use. Basically, I clicked start recording. I got the beeps in my headset, and whenever I ended the session, because I was going to go for about 45 minutes, and then I was just going to basically edit and tack on some additional time to create the episode, which would have been episode 4. The recording was not there. So not really sure what happened, but I'll look into that. And right now I have double checked, and we are recording, and I do see a file that's being saved. So anyway, just to kind of recap, because like I said, I spent probably 30 minutes or so going through a lot of the detail that I wanted to cover with episode 4, and so that is lost. So let me just sort of fill you in on what we have accomplished. So first of all, you may notice that our money, we've got a little bit of money accumulated. I did go through and I sold quite a bit of the or quite a bit of the equipment that I didn't think that I would need or want, at least not right now anyway. So if we kind of look through what our garage looks like currently, I sold the potato harvester, the sugar beet harvester. I also sold the Ponce Buffalo. Drove all of those to the shop to get the maximum value for those items. And so, obviously, also we've talked about in the last 3 episodes, we've talked about the soil mod. The soil mod has officially been added. So if you look over in the right-hand corner or the right-hand screen, you'll see the soil mod HUD, and that's telling us that if I'll walk out over here, our soil pH is at about 5.4, which is the measurement that I took before I began working on this field. And this is field number 1, by the way. It was 57% moisture with N of 4 and a pK of 2. And at that particular point in time, the weed infestation was kind of minimal, and that will change as you walk around in the field. So anyway, what I had started doing with this particular field was applying lime to the field. So if you're familiar with the soil mod, and if you're not, I want to once again remind you to take a look at that series that I did last April, the practical use of the soil mod, and that will bring you up to speed on how to use this wonderful mod for Farming Simulator 15. But in any event, where we currently stand with a pH of 5.4, our optimum level of pH, we actually want it to be 6.8. So we are quite low. So what we're going to do is we're going to, and what I've already done actually, is apply one um, dose of lime, which will decrease the acidity of the soil and bring the pH up. Now it's going to do that if we just applied it on the top surface, like you see here. These white specks represent the lime application. If we only applied those to the surface, we would get a we would get an increase of 7/10 to our total score. Okay, so that would bring us up to 6.1. If we cultivate this lime into the soil, which is what we're doing here with our New Holland tractor and the cultivator, is we will actually increase that by 2/10, which will give us a total increase on our pH to 9/10 to bring us up. It should bring us up to 6.3. Again, 6.3. But again, ideal conditions for pH, we really want to be at 6.8, which is still going to bring us or give us a bit low. We'll be about 5/10 low. So what we're going to do is after we cultivate, we will plant, and then at a later stage, maybe tomorrow, maybe on the second or the third day after harvest, we will apply another application of lime to the field, and we'll just obviously just apply that to the top surface. We won't be cultivating because we don't want to ruin our wheat crop. So that is really where we stand. I do want to just just kind of tab down and just show you what we're doing at the biogas facility. I did set up a course play route. I showed all this on the episode that obviously didn't get recorded, so I apologize for that. But I've got our telehandler down here. I was going to rent the wheel loader, but I realized that, well, we own the telehandler and it wasn't being used, so we would bring that down here and use this particular piece of equipment to do this job. So if you've sold silage at the BGA, you know that there is a 20,000 liter capacity for these ingesters, and we've obviously reached that because we're playing in real time, 1x time. Once we finish doing what we're going to do to our fields, I will probably crank that up to about 5 times and go ahead and let this off camera go ahead and sell the rest of the silage, and we'll do that before we go to episode probably 5. But anyway, I will explain this this course play route at a later time. So anyway, let's go back to our New Holland here, and let's get this guy fired up here and finish cultivating this in. We've got some interesting news about FS17 as well that has come out in today, or that I found out about today. Let me just make sure that we don't need to lift, and Control W, and just finish this out and then turn and come back the other direction. So again, my apologies that the video messed up. It happens because I use autosave. I have autosave turned on because, well, quite honestly, if you don't have autosave, sometimes there will be little glitches that will cause FarmSim to crash, and you can lose a lot of work, and it's frustrating to do that. So because I had autosave turned on, I had all this progress had already been made, and well, so I wasn't going to go back, and I couldn't undo anything. So it is what it is. But there is some new information about Farming Sim 17 that has come out in recent days. I think it's probably posted in the Giants forums yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. And there's a lot of cool stuff. By the way, for those of you that have been wanting Track IR implemented into FarmSim, well, you're going to get it. Track IR functionality does exist with FarmSim 17, so that is a good thing. Now, I've got some opinions about that, obviously, and as you get to know me a little bit more, and probably as you read more of my blog postings, you will understand that I do have quite a few opinions from time to time about things, and I don't mind voicing them. But here's the deal with Track IR. I think Track IR is an excellent piece of hardware and software application, and I use it for truck sim, and I use it for flight sim. But if we go in cab here, and even if I clear the HUDs out of the way, and of course this is just a default tractor, and I know that there are some modded tractors that do a little bit better with mirrors and such, but the in-cab experience or first-person experience in FarmSim 15 really lacks a lot, and especially when you compare that with, for instance, Euro Truck Simulator 2 or ATS. And I understand ATS is new, it was released in February, but ETS 2 has been out several years, probably actually predates, if I'm not mistaken, predates Farming Sim 15, and it's got excellent first-person in-cab experience. This just does not, and this was one of the reasons why I really don't do much first-person or in-cab, because there's not much, it doesn't work. It's not easy to operate the equipment in that mode like it is with truck sim. So if and only if they, Giant, have improved the in-cab or first-person experience with FarmSim 17, then in my opinion will TrackIR really be worth the time and trouble that they obviously went to implement it. So for me, I will just say that the jury is still out. Come October 25th, when I get FarmSim 17 and I have a chance to configure it with TrackIR, I'll take a look and see what happens. Maybe I'll be pleasantly impressed. I certainly hope so. Obviously, you probably already know about the new crops being sunflower and soybeans. Those have been added to the base game for FarmSim 17. Obviously, for those of us that have played modded maps, we've had the luxury of things like soybeans and sunflowers and cotton and other types of sorghum, other types of fruits. A new fruit that's also being added to FarmSim 17 is a cover crop. And let me just complete this turn. Oops, I turned short for whatever reason on this side, and I do apologize for that. So there is a new cover crop, oilseed radish. We can cultivate them when grown for a 30% yield on the particular field that you happen to plant and cultivate those crops in. All crops can be cultivated in this way to get the yield benefit, unless they're dead, of course. This, however, usually does not make any sense, since the other crops are worth more when sold. So use the cheap oilseed radish instead. Makes sense. There's also a new fertilizing system that's been added, which somewhat rivals this or that of the Soilmod, in the sense that today if you don't do anything other than seed, you get a crop yield. That'll be X. If you apply some type of fertilizer, either liquid, granular, or even manure based, you get a higher yield, which is Y. With FS17, they've developed a new system that if you essentially only plant the seed, you get a yield that is obviously much lower than what we're getting out of FarmSim 15. If you, let me find my place here in my notes. So fields that are not fertilized will yield yet less crops than in FS15. Fertilizing once nearly gets you to the FS15 base yield. 2 times will put the yield slightly up. Now that was me not paying attention to what I'm doing here. I forgot to set my course, and I was reading my notes here. This is probably a good reason why texting and driving is not good. And I'm hoping these physics get a little bit better as well. All right, so we're locked and loaded now. So fertilizing twice gives you a yield slightly above what we get in FS15 with basically just planting. And then fertilizing a field 3 times will yield about the same as as Farm Sim 15 did when we only fertilized once. So it's a little bit different system, and all that sounds really cool. Let's see, what else? Plowing, let me make sure I'm still going in a straight line. Plowing will be required on fields after 3 harvests. So we will have to basically plow the field after 3 harvests, unlike Farming Sim 15 that actually does not require that at all. Let me just complete this turn. Grass. There are no meadows. There are only fields on which grass grows. That is to say, grass also now has a terrain detail layer, and therefore its yield can be increased, like mentioned above, with the fertilization process. That's pretty cool because, you know, as Farming Sim 15 plays it, grass, you can't, you know, if you fertilize grass, it has no effect on it. Whereas we all know that if you fertilize grass, like our front yards, backyards, etc., then obviously the grass grows better. Finally, helpers can also see static objects such as trees, hedges, buildings, etc. So from what it reads here, that they will attempt to navigate around these obstacles. And then alert you if they have problems. And then you can go fix their mess for them. I have a feeling that, like in FS15, good help may still be hard to find with FS17. It also sounds like the physical material integration with the words tip anything in brackets. It sounds to me like that with FS17 we will be able to basically tip anything anywhere. And if I read this correctly, you know, wherever you tip something, it's going to stay there until you pick it up, which is kind of cool because, well, in the real world, if you had a load of straw and you just wanted to tip it out in the middle of a field or in the middle of a road, you could do that if you wanted to. Might not be the right thing for you to do, but you could still do it. All right. Probably going to need to get a bigger tractor. What we're going to do right now is we're going to pull this over here, and we're just going to drop this kind of out of the way. Of course, it'll be in the way, I'm sure, at some point. But we're just going to drop that right there, and we're going to swing around, and we're going to go pick up our seeder, and we're at least going to get this field planted. if you remember, yesterday we loaded up our seed master with seeds, and we're going to actually be able to, hopefully, load seeds up. And we are full. Okay. And we want to plant wheat, so we're already selected with wheat. And we'll just mosey back down to field number 1 and begin the planting process. Now, I know earlier, just a few minutes ago at the top of this episode, I did talk about or I did encourage you to go out and take a look at the YouTube series that I did on the Soilmod, and I think that is still that's still very much applicable. And let me just move my extendable silos and placeables to customize your farm. The crop silos will have a limited storage capacity of 100,000 liter per crop type, so no more will we be able to basically stockpile our harvests and wait for a large demand or a great demand, as we have perhaps in the past been accustomed to. Sugar beet, potatoes, wood chips, etc. can now be stored anywhere using the physical material integration, which we just talked about a few minutes ago. There are various shelters in some functional buildings like the workshop which can be placed. The workshop, for instance, allows you to reconfigure your machinery without having to pay the mechanic, and to do it at a more convenient location than at the shop. That was actually a suggestion that I had sort of thought about a while ago. I need to readjust this because something is not right. Auto width. Let me bring my offset in slightly. See if that provides a bit better coverage. The The crop prices will fluctuate much stronger and differently at various selling stations, so that no longer the same crop will deliver to the same station all the time on average. That's cool. Like in Farming Sim 15, on average, all activities have an on-par economic value. For instance, the price of wheat is much lower than canola. However, canola also yields a lot less grain per hectare than wheat. Silage was also nerfed. I assume a leprechaun played tricks on the price factor in Farming Sim 15. Silage is now back on par with other activities in terms of economic value. So what I'm guessing that means is that unlike in FS15, where we all became millionaires rather quickly with producing silage, selling silage, that ship has sailed. Animals are very expensive. This must be so to even keep up economically with fields that grow in 3 days. Likewise, maintenance and renting costs are very high to balance against the incredibly fast-growing crops. And that kind of makes sense because, again, we're sort of doing things in an economy that can basically can go from planting to harvest to sell all in a period of just a couple of days, whereas in real life it takes several months. I think through the screen prints and stuff that we've seen, there's a lot more information tabs for costs and prices, which will benefit the clever farmer. Slurry and manure can now be sold at the biogas plant. The mission system still exists, but there are some changes. I'll talk about animals here in just a few minutes. With regards to animals, you already own chickens and they can neither be bought or sold. So I guess we're given a fixed amount and it is what it is. Pigs, sheep, and cows can be bought and transported. Okay, there's kind of mods for that, by the way, for FS15. They will produce if fed well. Pigs will reproduce the fastest as their only economic value is being sold to the livestock dealer. And of course there's some changes to the productivity and reproduction rates. I'll cover that in just a moment. I'm going to fix this one big gap here. Productivity and reproduction rates. If animals have no water, their productivity will be 0. I think that's good. 10% is reached with straw bedding, except for sheep, and another 10% with a clean trough area. Really not sure why we're gapping this bad. And the remaining 80% to essentially get to 100% is generated through proper feeding. Sheep only need grass or hay to get to 100%. Pigs will need 50% base food, which is corn, 25% grain, which can be wheat or barley, and 20% proteins, which can be canola, sunflowers or soybeans, and 5% root crops to get to their 100%. The feed does not need to be mixed, just drop it in the trough. The pigs aren't very picky. Well, they're actually not very picky in real life either. If you don't really need 100%, simply go for maize and wheat or barley to reach a nice 75%. To mix out at 100%, you have to feed them everything, or you can buy expensive pig food in big bags, which already contain the perfect balance of all 4 types. And cows. Cows need 50% base food, which is either hay or silage, 30% power food, which is total mixed rations, and then 20% fresh grass. You can now feed cows on hay and fresh grass alone and still go up to 70% productivity. By the way, hay stays hay in the loading wagons now. That's cool. See, it's leaving a gap there. I don't know why. Maybe because of Soilmod. Tell you what we will do. We are going to turn that off, and we will hire a worker to finish this, and I will jump down to the BGA and take a look and see how that's going, and we will come back up here, and I will, off camera, I will fix these missing spots here. So let me talk a little bit about why our course play route is the way that it is, and you'll kind of see what I'm talking about here. Because of the proximity between these biogas domes and the silage pits, there was an issue with courseplay thinking that the stopping point, or that there was an obstacle or something in the way of the stopping point. So for a maneuver like this in courseplay, a shovel type application, you need 3 stops. You have your starting point, you have a stop at the start of the silage pit, you have a stopping point at the end of the silage pit, then you reverse out of the silage pit, and then you have a stopping point where you want your tipper, your wheel loader, the telehandler, whatever the case may be, to actually dump the silage. So I had originally basically drove into the silage pit, backed up, spun around, and attempted to set my stopping point where it is now, but I was unable to do that. It kept thinking that there was an obstacle there. So that's why I had to back out of the silage pit and essentially drive back into the second bunker and then approach it forward, and it worked just fine. So if you run into that problem with your courseplay courses, then that is a possible solution that will possibly help you resolve that issue. I know it did for me. So we will, like I said, we're in 1x time right now because we don't want to run in accelerated time while we're planting, because we want everything to be uniform. And if we actually crank this up to like 5x or 15x speed, then that'll cause a bit of an issue with our crop. So we're going to go back to our field and just check on this guy and see how he's doing. Looks like he's doing fine. Maybe it was my error, maybe it was my lack of knowledge on the GPS mod. I mean, I kind of do, you know, to be quite honest with you, I don't really use the GPS mod much for planting. With the sowing process, I typically either hire a worker, and I'm doing other things on the farm just because it takes a little bit longer, and I don't really do that myself, but I will look into that and see what is going on, see what's what. So I just need to, I want to update my notes here, because with the Soilmod, it's very important that you keep good notes as to what you're doing, what the pH levels were, etc., and what you applied and how you applied it, whether it be liquid form, for example, with fertilizer, or pesticide, or what. So we applied 1 dose of lime, and we actually cultivated that, and then we have seeded, obviously, and we are our next step after he is done seeding is we will apply a double dose of herbicide. Now the thing about herbicides is you have to pay attention, because not all herbicides are created equal. So for example, you've got 3 different types of herbicides that you can apply on the field. You've got A, B, and C, and you've got double doses of each of those. So you've got double A, double B, double C. For example, you cannot use A, either single A or double A, with wheat. It will basically stop the growth. It'll kill it. Okay. You can use either B or C, or double doses of either one. So we will go with a double dose of of seed. That's what I've typically used with wheat, and we will apply that basically after we're done here. All right, so here we are back again. The last thing we're going to do is apply a double dose of herbicide. So basically the way that Soilmod works is you can apply herbicide or you can apply fertilizer, but you can't apply both on the same day. So we are going to select spray time, see, refill. We're going to do double CC, right? So we're going to this should have a 4,000 liter capacity. Ooh, it must have more than 4,000 liters. I'll have to check this mod. That's 25,000 liters. Really? Sprayers. Oh, that's not realistic. I'll have to look and see if I've got the right mod. I found two of these. One of them was modded to provide a 25,000 liter tank, and the other one was more realistic at about 4,000 or 5,000, I believe. So I will check that mod and see if the wrong mod ended up in the folder, because we don't want to play with that. As I was telling, talking to a friend of mine on one of the forums, that we're all going to have to get used to driving in a straight line, because FS17, GPS mod, and some of these other helpers are not going to be available for us initially, anyways. And we're applying a double helping, double dose of CC herbicide. Again, you have to be careful about applying herbicide and you need to know which herbicide works with which crop type. And again, wheat, if you put A or double A on a wheat field, it will stop the growth, so it won't work. A double seed dosage should get us with minimal weed infestation until the very last day, harvest day, and then of course that really doesn't matter at that point, because we will harvest the field and then we will basically prep the field for the next planting. I'm giving a little bit of an overlap, but it's okay. It won't hurt anything. As far as I know, the grass areas like that in FS15, the soil mod doesn't have anything to do with that, so it's not going to affect the fact that we're spraying herbicide on the grass. Now, there's nothing wrong with using mods that are unlifelike or unrealistic if that's what you want to do. I'm certainly not the mod police. Um, but what I strive for, realism through simulation, is to use as accurate as possible. I think I said in maybe episode 1 or 2 that I do use that Brooks um, wood chipper. That in its design may not be 100% realistic, but we do know that there are wood chippers that will grind up pretty significant timber, and whether they may not be tractor mounted and they may not be able to just be driven around and gobble up stuff. In other words, it may require that someone on the other, that there's actually a human that's helping to feed it. But I don't think that, I'm not going to worry about trying to see if that will cover that. I don't know if it wouldn't. The overspray is not that far on the left hand side. And as soon as we finish spraying this field, that's going to pretty much wrap up this episode. And I will continue selling the silage because we want to do that, because we're going to, we own a total right now of 3 fields. That's what the map starts you with. That's what we currently own. But I'm going to purchase a 4th field if we have the funds from the silage sale, which I believe that we will. And do that. And that way we will have a total of 4 fields. And then we'll also be able to buy some equipment and just continue on. Yeah, the weed prevention gives you plus 2 days. Now, something that's weird here. Why is it change? That's weird. You noticed in the HUD, maybe that's what was on the field before it detected that, but it was showing herbicide A, and then it showed herbicide B, and then it went to herbicide C, but yet I'm spraying a double dose of C, which should get us to 3 days, so that's accurate. And maybe it was just detecting something else that was on the field, but I think we're good to go. Because if we were spraying herbicide A, then basically nothing's going to happen on this field, unfortunately. Alright, well, thank you for watching. I'm going to end this episode here. I think this episode will end up being about 40 minutes, 45 minutes or so. I can't see my software right now to see how long I've been recording, but it feels like about that long. And we'll probably do a few edits. There's a few things that I want to edit out and change about things, some beeping and some bells going off behind me. I forgot to shut off a notification, but in any event, I hope you've learned something, and I hope you'll return, and I look forward to doing episode number 5. And thanks again. Thanks to Stevie for creating such an awesome map, and of course thanks to Giants for creating such an awesome game. Thanks again.